Hello and welcome to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes Grand Arena Championships, Season 35, Week 2, Round 3. My name is Boma Fett. This video is being posted a couple of weeks late because I had some issues with my laptop. I actually lost the voiceover track for this video, and so you're going to be getting commentary after the fact. I was 4-1 going into this match. Let's see who my opponent was. Rogue 198. Let's go to the hotbot for a quick comparison. Report shows more red on Rogue's side than there is green on my side, but let's zoom in and take a closer look. Rogue's GAC stats are pretty good. They're not quite as high as mine, but they're not that far behind. Over 3,500 offensive wins, 800 undersize, 223 clears, and over 1,000 defends. So very solid GAC player. Rogue's overall GP was about 600,000 more than mine, including close to 200,000 more in the top 80. He had 5 more Zetas and 4 more Omicrons. I had a touch more speed at the top of my roster, and that is reflected in the mod analysis, where I had more mods with high-speed secondaries at 3 out of the 4 levels. He actually had a few more in the 15 to 19 speed range. He also had 26 more 6-stop mods and 25 more Gear 13 characters. Now that may not sound like a lot, but that is 5 full squads of Gear 13 characters. And that translates to over 200 more total relic levels, 642 to 434. And of course, more relic levels means more opportunities to apply datacrons, and he was very heavily into datacrons. He had 7 level 9 datacrons, he had 44 total rerolls, so he was rerolling and rerolling and rerolling in order to get the datacrons that he wanted. Rogue had 1 galactic legend more than me. In fact, all 3 people that I faced this week had these same 4 galactic legends to my 3. So remarkably, I didn't have to face one of those Lord Vader datacrons all week, and it was glorious. No surprises in the key characters. Neither one of us has really leveled up Ben Solo very much because neither one of us has Rey. Rogue does have the Profundity, so that could be a problem for me if he puts both Profundity and Executor on defense, but I've only come across that once so far. Almost everybody will only put one of these 2 on defense, and that I should be able to handle. In the other characters that I like to look at, neither one of us has the Grand Inquisitor or Afra, and then Mara and Akbar are both relic, but the other 3 are not at a level where it's going to matter for GAC. So let's go back to the game and take a look at the board. So Rogue 198 attacked almost immediately. He took out 1 squad. I've got Maul Mandalorians, Qui-Gon Jinn, Starkiller, and Darth Malgus. And he took out Darth Malgus for a 65. So that's not a great score considering you get 10 extra banners for your first attack. In the top zone, he had not attacked. I have Dash Rendar, Beskar Mando, Hux First Order, and the Sith Triumvirate. In the back zone, I've got Leftover Bounty Hunters, Ad-Rad, and Sana Staros. In his top zone, Rogue set Malgus, Starkiller, Phasma First Order, and Maul Mandalorians. In the bottom zone, he's got Dash Rendar with Bounty Hunters, Mon Mothma, Inquisitors, and CLS. So even though he doesn't have Grand Inquisitor yet, he is ready for the Grand Inquisitor. You'll also notice he does have datacrons on a lot of these characters, including the level 9 on Dash Rendar. So that is where I started with Dash Rendar, and I took in my Jedi Knight Revan squad. And I gave them a Datacron that has a whole bunch of resistance penetration because both Revan and Bastila do special damage. My big concern here was how hard Dash hits, and I did not play this particularly well. I should have just marked Dash, but instead I swapped turns to Luke, and I had Luke stun them all. That seems smart, but here I'm not able to kill Dash, and he gets his big AoE. That does a ton of damage to my guys, so my squad was hurting. I used Old Ben to put the ability blocks on them, and then Jedi Knight Luke took care of Dash on a counterattack. Now I need to pick who to mark, and eventually I decided to go for Boba Fett because he has the big hit where he could just one-shot one of my guys. So there's one for Boba. You get a heal there, that was great. Now Jango also hits pretty hard, but I was more worried about the big hit from Boba. We got rid of Boba, able to get rid of the taunt from Bosk. And then down goes Bosk. At this point, I was thinking about trying to recover some banners by calling some assists, but it was a little too late. So 70 banners, not a great score, but it did put me in the lead. So next up, we have this CLS squad. And I went with a mirror match here because my Han was faster than his Han. I don't have great Datacrons, so I just gave them this one that has a bit of crit damage on it. I went straight after Chewbacca, try and get rid of that guard as quickly as possible. They went after my C-3PO, and then goodbye Chewie. And even though my Han was faster, I think some other characters on their squad were faster than mine because they were getting more attacks early on, and then we got a blind from Chewpio, and I was just dumb and didn't recognize it, and so I've got my guys all shooting. Here I go for the big slam and just miss completely because my guys were blind. Then I got to blind his squad just in time for their Chewpio to do his AoE, so that was perfect. We took out Chewpio, then went after Han. So my Chewpio was hurting, he was in the yellow. This wasn't going to be great banners, but at least it was a one-shot. I did the AoE, almost got rid of CLS, and then goodbye CLS, and a 61. Next up was the Mon Mothma squad, and I did my standard counter, which is Iden Versio. I was a little bit concerned about their Datacron. It gave them some defense penetration, as well as giving them stacking bonus if they crit 4 characters in the same turn, but I was pretty sure the only one with an AoE on that squad was Cara Dune. If you've watched my channel at all, you've seen me do this before. It's a pretty standard counter. The one thing that can go wrong is Kyle Katarn at Relic 5 can one-shot one of your characters. If you don't have the special buff from Iden that gives them a revive, then he can start picking off your characters one by one. So that can be an issue. And the other thing that can often go wrong is that you can time out because Mothma will keep reviving the characters that you kill. So if you use the Death Mark or the Terminate from Death Trooper, you can prevent the revives. With this comp on the other side, I was not really worried about timing out. The issue is when Biggs is on the other side, because Biggs gets a bonus turn anytime he is hit by an Empire enemy. And so every time your characters hit Biggs, he gets a bonus turn. And he takes that bonus turn, and then your characters counterattack him. And then he gets another bonus turn. And then your characters counterattack him. And you can get kind of stuck in this loop. But without Biggs on the other side, I wasn't really worried about it. There I got the Terminate on Pow, so Pow could not be brought back. Mothma could bring back Cara Dune, and that can always be a pain because Cara is a little bit thick. It takes a while to get through her, and the longer a battle like this goes, the more and more Kyle Katarn is stacking up his Jedi Knight ability. I think that's what it's called. I don't remember exactly. But as he gets more and more stacks of that, he becomes more and more powerful. So she did bring back Cara Dune. I had to go back after Cara, try and get rid of her again as quickly as possible because Kyle Katarn is just a time bomb waiting to go off. Now you'll notice I skipped doing the death mark there on Cara Dune. That's because looking at the turn meter, I knew that one of them was going to go next, and then Mothma would assist and would just cleanse the death mark. So you have to be aware of the turn meter. And the same thing here. There's a big hit from Kyle Katarn. Luckily, someone else assisted him, and that actually healed my character. But it did a lot of damage. So here, looking at the turn meter, I decided to go ahead and do the death mark, and then there he goes. Once he's down, there's no real threat on the other side, and that's that, 65. I had no idea what to do against the Inquisitors, so I decided to go to the top zone and take out Darth Malgus and Starkiller. So starting with Malgus, I took in my SLKR. This was a new squad for me, and this SLKR does not have the ultimate. So the goal here is to build up my mastery, to do a bunch of siphoning in order to build up my offense. Now, I have a Hux squad on defense, so I didn't have a lot of good first order to use with SLKR. I instead went with the random other characters that bolster SLKR. Now, in the few times that I've done this, I've noticed that the really big risk here is not that they're going to kill all of my characters, it's really that I could time out against Malgus. Malgus is really difficult to kill. And so, again, you've got to ramp up your SLKR. Keep poking, keep swiping. Eventually, he'll get to a point where he can kill Malgus. I did put the Beskar armor onto SLKR. Now there's no way that they can kill him. They can't crit him, and he will always counterattack. You'll also notice they are just stuck attacking Zombie over and over and over again. And look at Zombie's health. Zombie's health is down to nothing. But it doesn't matter. As long as Doc is alive, Zombie keeps coming back, even if her health is only 1 health. She will be taunting, and they will have to attack her. There's only one AoE on the other side, I'm pretty sure. That's Revan's Lightning. And so the only real threat to any of the other characters comes from that Revan Lightning. Now, of course, I've got 2 Taunters on the other side. So getting to Revan to kill him is going to take a while, and it'll probably just come from the swipes, although I did get a poke on Revan there, which was great. But it's probably just going to come from the swipes from SLKR. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this, and you'll see it just takes a while to get through. There goes Malik. There goes Revan. And I put it on auto with about 1.5 minutes left, and they finished him off. 63 banners. Next up was Starkiller, and I went ahead and took my Grievous here. Now, people have pointed out to me that I could have been using my Darth Vader Datacron this whole time to solo Starkiller, but I didn't know that. And now that Datacron's gone. Now, this tends to be a very ugly counter. They are going to get to go first. Mara Jade is going to do some damage to your characters, but the key is to get some target lock. And if you can get target locks on the other side, you just keep hitting the characters with target lock, and that gets your turn meter going. So there we got 3 of them from Grievous. We're going to hit that target lock. We're going to boost our turn meter. We're going to go again, get some more target locks. We've got 5 target locks out there, so every attack now is going to boost our turn meter. We've got several AoEs on our side, so we're going to be hitting 5 target locks at a time. I just got rid of Palpatine. I always go for him first because Starkiller assists whenever Palpatine goes. So you want to get rid of Palpatine so that Starkiller is not assisting and building up to that pulling down the Star Destroyer. Now Mara Jade is going crazy here. Part of this is because of the Datacron. She just keeps doing her leap over and over and over again, and that is an AoE, so it is definitely hurting my characters. I'm going to lose Nuke Gunray soon, but after I've taken out Palpatine, I take out Visas Mar so she can't bring him back. Then I can take out Starkiller or Mara. A lot of people go after Mara Jade first. I don't think that's the best way to do it. Now there you can see she got rid of 2 more of my characters. Because of that Datacron, she was able to do her AoE over and over and over again. So 53, it shouldn't be that ugly in the future, but I'm okay with that trade. Grievous for Starkiller, that's an okay trade for me, even at 53 banners. So next, I was going after Maul with my General Skywalker squad. I gave them a Datacron with some extra crit damage. Now, I have had this counter fail before, particularly with Watt and Beskar Mando on the other side. Their squad gets to go first. They're going to get to go a lot here at the beginning, and they're going to get Skywalker to kneel down very quickly. So once Skywalker kneels, I actually get very lucky, and they go after ARC Trooper, and they trigger the sacrifice from 5s. So now I've got Super Troopers. So they're going to do more damage, but more importantly, they're going to be able to stay alive so that Skywalker can stand up and kneel back down and stand up again. So this was an ugly, ugly battle. I should have just used one of my Galactic Legends here, but I hadn't seen what was in the back yet. Now Beskar Mando is going to put damage immunity on himself and on Canderous. And of course, we have this bouncing taunt, so now I'm forced to hit the guys that have damage immunity. It's a very, very frustrating battle. One of the things you're going to notice is that with Rex, I never do the form up because I'm trying to save it until Skywalker kneels again, because then that will give turn meter to my characters. They'll get more attacks more quickly, and Skywalker will stand up more quickly. At least that's what I was thinking would happen. In the meantime, again, I'm stuck attacking these damage immune characters, and I'm not making any progress at all. And as we approach 2 minutes into the match, I have basically done next to nothing against them. So I was getting really worried here. I didn't do the Rexecute because, again, we have damage immunity. But I knew that once damage immunity was gone, I would have the ability to just annihilate someone. Except watch what happens here. We've got cooldown increases from Maul. He's going to make Skywalker sit. There he goes. And then goodbye, Rex. He never gets the Rexecute. He never gets the form up. Then they take out Echo, and now Skywalker stands up, and finally he's going to do something. So there goes Bo-Katan. There goes Bam. There goes Canderous, and there goes Maul. So an ugly, ugly 53. So after that, I decided to switch back to the top zone and my game crashed. And so I had to reboot my game. Fortunately, the crash didn't cost me any wins. So now I was back after the Inquisitors. I had no idea what to do here, but SWGOH.GG said if your troopers are fast enough, you can use your Imperial troopers. So that's what I went with. Now again, I really didn't know how to play this. I put the Emperor's Trap on the Dark Trooper like usual, and then I was trying to decide who I wanted to attack first, try and get that first kill and get the turn meter train going, but then Ninth Sister taunted. So I had to go after Ninth Sister, and she is really, really thick. And so I couldn't get her down very quickly to get my turn meter train rolling. That means that they got some attacks in. Because Dark Trooper had the Emperor's Trap, he was marked, and so they only attacked the Dark Trooper. And then Dark Trooper was counterattacking, and each time counterattacked Ninth Sister. So I think that actually helped to get Ninth Sister down. I did lose a stack of the Dark Trooper, so that's a little bit worrying. But I did eventually get the Ninth Sister down. There we go. And once I'd done that, now my turn meter train is going, and the rest of them are not so thick. And so even with only 3 stacks of Dark Trooper instead of 4, I was able to pick them off one by one. They did get a few other attacks on some of my characters, but the Imperial Troopers do have good banner recovery, so there they attacked Ranged Trooper, but through attacks, my squad recovers banners, recovers protection, and so I was able to recover most of what I had lost. So just a bit more of the punch. It's always nice when the Dark Trooper assists. And there we go, 64 banners. To see what was in the back zone. And no Galactic Legends. We do have Qui-Gon Jinn, Adrad, and Grievous. So I went after Qui-Gon first with Jedi Master Luke, and I took along Ki-Adi-Mundi and Jolee. I gave them a Datacron, even though they didn't really need it. Now, with a Galactic Legend present, the Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron does nothing. It's completely defunct. So I was able to go straight after Jedi Knight Anakin, get rid of him first, but I kind of wish they had not done that. I understand the Omicron was too powerful, and particularly people like me, pairing Qui-Gon Jinn with Jedi Master Luke was a problem. But just make it so that Qui-Gon couldn't have a Galactic Legend on his squad. And then maybe if a Galactic Legend is on the other squad, it does 25% of what it normally does. But don't make it completely useless. To me, that was kind of a bad move. It should still do something. Maybe you don't want it killing Galactic Legends, but it should still help against Galactic Legends. So have it do 25% of what it normally does. But making it so that it's completely defunct when a GL is present, to me that was a cop-out. Now, someone in the comments will probably tell me I could have done this as a JML solo, and you are probably right. I probably could have gotten away with doing a JML solo. It probably would have saved me a few banners. But I am fairly risk-averse when it comes to doing solos. I've seen it too many times where somebody on a stream tells the streamer they can do a solo, and it doesn't work. Or when I check my GAC history, and I wonder, how did they lose to that squad? well, they tried to do a solo and it didn't work. So I'd much rather do this. I'll lose a few banners, and that's okay with me. So 64. Against Adrad, I took in my other Galactic Legend, Jedi Master Kenobi, and here I did go undersized, but probably not as undersized as some of you viewers might have gone. I gave this squad the SLKR Datacron because I didn't use it on SLKR. And this went exactly how you would expect it to go. Reduce the cooldowns on Cat. She uses her insta-kill to take out Adrad. Then we go after Jyn Erso so that she can't revive anyone. K2 taunted, so we had to go after K2. But Snips cleansed off that taunt, so we could shift back to Jyn, and a big hit took care of her. Next was Cassian. SRP taunted, so then I had to go after him. And again, the cleanse from Snips. Then on to Cassian. Popped my ultimate. Goodbye, Cass. And now we've got the two tanks. No real threat here. Goodbye, K2. And goodbye, SRP. 66 banners. So just GG remaining in this back zone, and this is where I do a solo. Wampa. I said doo-doo. Wampa doo-doo. And I gave Wampa a Datacron with tenacity and protection up. And I'm going to fast forward through this one. You've seen it a million times. I don't know why anybody is still putting Grievous on defense at this point. He's too good on offense, and he's just Wampa bait. I mean, I guess if you're doing Grievous and Iden, then that forces your opponent to make a decision. But it's not like there's nothing else that can take Grievous out. So 68 banners there, and now all we have left is the Phasma squad to unlock the fleets. And believe it or not, here's where things go south. No joke, against Phasma. And the issue was their speed. Yes, they have the TIE Fighter Omicron, but a lot of people have very slow first order, and even with that Omicron, they're not that fast. So I took in Darth Vader, Red Trooper, and TIE Fighter Pilot. That would allow me to still apply my stupid Cron to Vader, and I thought that that would give me enough speed to go first. It did not by a long shot. So they got their turn meter train rolling. They took out Red Trooper fairly quickly. Then I get my Merciless Massacre with Vader. I go into Force Crush and dodged and resisted everywhere. They all had Foresight, a couple of them had Tenacity up, and I just didn't land the debuffs I needed in order to cycle around and do another Force Crush, and another Force Crush, and another Force Crush, and then to go right back into Merciless Massacre. Now there I made another mistake. I attacked the TIE Pilot, and when he counterattacked, he put Foresight on everyone again. So when I did my Force Crush, they all dodged and resisted again. So this ended up being a failure. And the only good thing I can say is at least I was smart enough to back out, so they wouldn't be turn meter loaded. So next I took in my Bounty Hunters. With my Zam Omicron, I was going to be faster than them. I had done the math. I knew this would work. My Grief is 1 speed slower than my Bosk. So my boss goes first, he roars, my grief should go next, and somehow their first order officer went. And he gave them turn meter, and then they just go off. I have no idea what was going on here. There's no hucks on the other side to stop turn meter gain on my side. I just have no idea what was going on. Now, I should have cleansed and healed with grief. Instead, I went for contract. Bosk did not have his frenzy anymore, and so he didn't get his bonus turn. So I'm still at 70% on contract, 80%, 90%, and now I'm going to get contract. I need to get around to Mando so that he can disintegrate. Bosk went down. Everybody is stealth, which means nobody is stealth. They can attack whoever they want. And there goes Mando. And goodbye, Mando. So that was over. So at this point, I was kind of tilted. I didn't know if I had anything left that would work. I decided to try Padme with Gideon. Now you'll notice everyone on my squad other than Gideon is a support character. If Gideon can get a turn, he can give them all protection up. That will translate to a whole bunch of courage. And then I can start one-shotting the opponents. But the thing is, I don't know if Gideon's ever going to get a turn. They've got their turn meter train going, and it's looking a little bleak. But finally, I do get my turn, but Padme has buff immunity. So when Gideon does his thing, she doesn't get the protection up. The other three do, though. But for some reason, now I've got all these stacks of courage on Shakti, I didn't attack with her. And I'm not sure why. Instead, I called Yoda. Now, Padme, of course, did not get the protection up. She doesn't have the courage. So I cleanse her so that she can start getting courage. Now, R2 takes out the Executioner. That's beautiful. Now, I wanted to go after the TIE Pilot, but I did notice that there was Foresight there, so I just did the AoE damage. That killed Phasma and got rid of the Foresight on the TIE Pilot. So now I go after the TIE Pilot. I want to get rid of that Omicron. Padme calls in the assists. And goodbye, TIE Pilot. So at this point, I'm finally starting to breathe. I know I'm going to get through this squad. I was really worried after the first two failed that I didn't have anything that was going to work here. So this was ugly, but I got through it. 30 banners. Shame, shame. So finally onto the fleet zone where we have the Executor, the Negotiator, and the Raddus. So of course I went with an Executor mirror match. And this went about as smoothly as it can go. He went first. I healed up my Razor Crest. Then I put the mark on his Xanadu and called the assist against his Xanadu. And we were able to take out the Xanadu before he got a turn. Of course, Boba is the reinforcement, as always. I brought in the Ebon Hawk. And now we're just biding our time until we can get our ultimate. But then something interesting happened. Now, his Executor is going to heal Boba Fett like normal, but there is no taunt on the Houndstooth. So I was able to do my AoE against Boba Fett and get him low again, and then able to come in with the Xanadu and get the mark on him and take Boma Fett out. So I'm not exactly sure why there was no taunt on the Houndstooth at that point, but it worked out perfectly. So of course next he brings in IG, and I bring in Boma Fett. And again, I'm just biding my time until I get my ultimate. Once again, their Houndstooth was without a taunt, and so I was able to go after the Razor Crest. I got my contract off of that counterattack from Boma Fett. Then dropped the big bomb from Boma Fett. And then was able to put the mark on their Razor Crest using my Razor Crest, and then just focus down the Razor Crest. So at this point, even if they were to somehow get their ultimate and destroy my Executor, I think I still win this. I have had that happen once before, where my Executor got blown up, and yet I still won the match. But that did not happen in this case. I was able to blow up their Executor, and then just take out the last two ships. There we go. 68. Next up is the Negotiator, and you'll notice they've got Snips in the starting lineup. Now there's an old counter for this mirror match where you use TIE Fighter in your starting lineup whenever they have Snips in their starting lineup. But I almost messed this up. You also need to keep 5s in your starting lineup. So you have no tank in your starting lineup. You have your Y-Wing coming in as a reinforcement. So the way this works is your TIE Fighter goes first, and you attack Snips. This is going to trigger Anakin. Their Anakin goes, now you get to do 2 AoEs in a row. First you do your Negotiator AoE against Snips, and now you do the AoE from 5s, and you're able to eliminate Snips and hurt Anakin at the same time. Now we put the buff immunity on their Anakin, and their Negotiator just wasted their unending loyalty. So now we just need to get around this taunt from the Y-Wing so that we can get Anakin down twice. He's got that buff immunity, so if we can get him down really quickly, he will not go into stealth. He's not going to heal because he has healing immunity. So he's really vulnerable right now. It's just a matter of getting around the taunt. And unfortunately, they actually brought in a second taunt. So that was going to make things a little bit trickier for me. Usually Clone Sergeant is not a very good reinforcement, but in this case, he's actually saved Anakin because I have to go after Clone Sergeant right here when I could have taken Anakin out. Now, fortunately for me, my Anakin got his AoE just in time, and I was able to take out their Anakin. So at this point, they've got 2 tanks on the field. I've eliminated both of their major offensive threats. The only good offensive character they have on the bench is probably 5s, and he is a low reinforcement priority. So as you can see, they bring in Plo Koon. So they don't have any offense. I'm not in any danger of losing any of my ships, and I can make quick work of these last 2. There goes Plo, and there goes Clone Sergeant. So the easiest 72 I've had in a Negotiator mirror match in a long, long time. And against Holdo, I take in the Malevolence. Now remember, they don't have Rey, so this Resistance fleet is not going to be very good. Of course, you have to go after the bomber first because it's taunting, but their Rose is not high level, and so she goes down very, very quickly. That allows me to switch focus to raise Millennium Falcon. Now, of course, they get Foresight over and over and over again, which is frustrating, but I did manage to get the Buzz Droids on her Falcon, and that allowed me to take it out pretty quickly. Now, as a reinforcement, I was expecting them to bring in Poe Dameron, but instead they brought in Lando's Millennium Falcon. It went into stealth, so we had to go after the Resistance X-Wing. We got it down, and then it was on to Lando's Falcon. And we got that down pretty quickly as well. So an easy 70 banners there. That was the best I've done in fleets in quite some time. So that was a good way to bounce back after crapping the bed against Phasma a couple of times. I had a couple of other low banner victories, and so I was sitting at 1777, waiting for Rogue to come back and attack, but I had a feeling I was probably going to lose this one. He still had several Galactic Legends left in his arsenal to take out my defense. So imagine my surprise when I came back later and saw this. Only 2 zones cleared. Now, he one-shot both of the bottom 2 zones, but here in the top zone, he failed against Beskar Mando. For that one, he tried his Geonosians, and then it took him 3 tries to get through the Sith Triumvirate. He lost with Jedi Training Rey and then the Shock Clones before finally using SLKR to win that one. But at that point, he gave up. The thing is, even though he had dropped 3 battles and I had dropped 2, I had done so poorly in a couple of other battles that mathematically, he still had a chance to win. So let that be a lesson to you. Always do the math. Now, this put me at 5-1 on the season, and you know what happens when you win a lot in GAC. They start giving you impossible matchups. So the next week, I had 3 extremely difficult matchups. I lost all 3. You won't be seeing those videos. It's not worth my time to edit impossible matchups. So I'd like to thank Rogue198 for the match. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.